Welcome to Artemis Oracle and Tarot, a sacred space for seekers on the moonlit path. Here we hold space for complexity and honour the intuitive, the unseen and the in-between. The cards that I use were designed by me and they feature divine masculine archetypes to assist with introspection and healing. We all have a relationship to masculinity regardless of our gender identity or sexuality. So, if you've arrived here, know that you're welcome and there's a place for you. A reminder, these are general readings, so take what resonates and leave behind what doesn't. And without further ado, let's jump into your astrology for the month. Starting with Mars and Mercury in Sagittarius. Mars in Sagittarius brings lots of energy for adventure, learning and exploration. You might find a strong pull to new experiences that expand your horizons. But with Mercury in retrograde, you may find that the energy expresses itself a little bit more internally. You might find that you're less inclined to discuss or process externally with others, favouring a more inwardly focused approach. On November 18, Mercury will continue on its retrograde path back into Scorpio, where it is joined by Venus, which has been there since the beginning of the month. Mercury in Scorpio is about uncovering hidden truths and digging beneath the surface for deeper understanding. Paired with Venus, this brings an intense emotional and relational flavour to it. Passions, desires, and sometimes uncomfortable secrets may surface. The November full moon was in Taurus, drawing unconscious attention to security, home, and beauty. And the new moon arrives in Scorpio on the 20th and may bring a subtle resurgence of the month's earlier intensity, particularly prevalent in dreams and subconscious activity. Hey Taurus, welcome to your reading for November. I hope that you've been well since we connected last. This month we will be doing a traditional spread, the Celtic cross, but just with a slight variation in that two of the cards will be oracle cards and then the remaining cards will be tarot ones. So the reason I do this is because I feel like the oracle cards act as sort of like the theme for the reading, and then the tarot cards kind of help to illustrate or pull out the themes, the details that relate to the themes. So as I shuffle the cards and place them, lay them out onto the table, I'll explain the kind of functions or the roles of each of the cards. And then we'll get into unveiling them together. All right. I've got some sandalwood incense already burning for you today, which I think is a nice pairing for our Earth sign Taurus and our friends. All right, so the two center cards of the Celtic cross are the current situation, and then the challenges usually overlaid that card. So those are the two cards that will be oracle cards. So let's select those now. All right, I'm going to switch decks now and shuffle and pull out the remaining tarot cards. So I'll be back very shortly with the spread all laid out and ready to go. So that's the cards laid out. Let's quickly recap on each of the positions, and then we'll go through and go about revealing them. So on the bottom here in the center, we've got the current situation, and overlaid is the challenge, or I guess the blocker. Beneath here, we have the foundations to the situation, and then over on the left, we've got something that's happened in the recent past. Above, we have the kind of outcome card, and then over here on the right is the immediate future. All right, so now that we've laid these out and we know what each of the cards means, let's turn them over and see what you got. So I always uncover these two together. In the current situation, you've pulled the Gabriel card here. And Gabriel speaks to speaking truth, having clarity and conviction in our speech, and being a messenger, or sometimes the bearer of bad news, I guess, or what some might perceive as bad news. And in the overlay or the challenge card, you've pulled the Platonic Demiurge here. And the Platonic Demiurge is about detail, being detail-oriented. He's skillful and inventive, and also orderly. And so with these two cards, I feel like the situation may be to do with kind of like feeling unable to communicate what's on your mind. And I feel like we're all kind of feeling this at the moment with that Mercury in retrograde. I know I have tried and started today's reading several times, and I keep getting caught up on my words. And I think, that's definitely the energy that I'm seeing when I look at these two cards here for you, Taurus. And so the advice that I'm going to give, and I rarely give advice, is almost for myself right now, which is just breathe. No one expects you to be perfect. And by grounding, and for you, Taurus, this is something that comes naturally, we can find that extra space to be in the moment and to connect to our rootedness and, kind of push through. And so that's what I'm doing right now. Whatever this situation is, I'm getting the sense that it might feel more threatening or more challenging than it actually is. And I'm also getting a sense that if it has to do with speaking truth and being orderly, that perhaps there's a fear of speaking or a fear of public speaking, or like a level of discomfort with revealing truths because in the past perhaps you've been reprimanded or held responsible for speaking the truth in situations where another person actually just didn't want to hear the truth because it made them uncomfortable. Now that situation could be anything, it could be work related, it could be family and relationships related. That's kind of up to you to discern. But what I will say is this, is people don't like hearing uncomfortable truths. And that doesn't make it easy for them to hear. And so the unconscious kind of reaction can often be to push away bad news or difficult news or things that we don't want to hear because they reflect things to us that we don't necessarily want to look at. And then that leaves you with a decision, like, is this something that I want to share, need to share, have to share? And if so, how do I frame what I'm sharing? Those are questions that only you can answer, but I will say that if you determine that it is stuff that you have to share, that thinking about the setting can really help, and also like what you're doing when you share the information as well. A good one that I always like to take is, if it's difficult news, taking the person for a walk. That directs attention away from like sitting across from one another, which can feel a bit confrontational and triggers your fight or flight response anyway. Whereas if you're on a walk together, you're walking in the same direction, that works like symbolically as being side by side rather than kind of facing off against one another. If it's something you don't necessarily have to share, then I guess the question sits back with you as to, I guess, your intent in sharing it, and, doing some further reflecting on why. Because if it's not something that is life or death, or could have significant risks if that information isn't shared, then perhaps you're better just letting it sort of fly. And I think, part of like moving into kind of adulthood is realizing that just because we know something doesn't mean we need to kind of like pass it on or share it on with others. So I'll leave that with you. In the foundations, you've pulled the Justice card in reverse. And so I get the sense that whoever this other person is, there's been a situation where you felt to a degree like it was unjustly resolved, or perhaps it remains to feel resolved to you. And so, the question of whether or not this information needs to be shared with this person, I feel part of maybe the tension that's arising here has to do with that unresolved nature of, that situation. So let's have a look at your recent past here and see if that gives us any further clues. And you've pulled the Six of Wands in reverse here in the recent past. And the Six of Wands speaks to like a homecoming, and it's typically a situation where we return somewhere, or we have the feeling of returning somewhere that was familiar, and there's a sense of being received, and there's a sense of, recognition of how we've grown or how we've changed. And with the card in reverse like this, I'm getting a sense that perhaps in that return or in that homecoming, things weren't said that you had hoped would be said, or things weren't acknowledged that you had hoped would be acknowledged. And that's left you feeling, a little bit wounded or deflated. And I guess in context with this reversed Justice card, I'm wondering if that person has withheld things from you also, and that's left you feeling this kind of like discomfort in that kind of homecoming situation. So you've put the King of Wands in that outcome card, and the King of Wands speaks to someone who is charismatic and determined. They've got a lot of kind of like fire, and also they know how to use that fire for transformation and for, manifestation as well. And in the outcome, that says to me that there is a positive resolution in this for you. And the King of Wands is at his most effective when his mind is clear and when he has a really good picture of what it is that he wants, and then he can put his like charisma and his passion and drive in towards that thing. And so I think as I look back at the cards that you've pulled, what I'm getting here is a sense of, if this information that you've come across that you don't know whether to communicate it or not is keeping you in your head, then you need to remove that mental energy, because that's only going to block you from like the positive outcome that we're kind of looking for. So I'm getting the sense here that the answer is increasingly probably yes, in terms of telling this person the difficult truth that they need to hear. It's not up to you to bear the burden of another's, stuff that they have to manage. And so even if you're close to this person, which, you probably are, it's not your job, Taurus, to manage their life for them or manage their feelings for them, even though I know that can be a natural tendency for you, given your kind of nurturing qualities. I think we need the bull here a little bit, who isn't going to back down. All right, in the immediate future, you've pulled the Nine of Swords here in the immediate future. And the Nine of Swords speaks to kind of like mental energy that is challenging us or holding us back. And that it's showing in reverse here says to me that, this information has been on your mind. You've been losing sleep over it. You don't know whether to share it or not. And, if you embrace your kind of King of Wands energy, you will, that leads you to the outcome of the Nine of Swords kind of energy dispersing. That's why it's in the reverse. So I think for you, Taurus, the closing message is speak your truth, do it with conviction and clarity, and in doing so, you'll free yourself of someone else's baggage that's been weighing you down. I hope that's been helpful, and I hope that there was something in there for you. I look forward to seeing you again next month, but for now, that's all there is. Well, that's all I've got for you this month. So thanks again for tuning in and watching. If you'd like to learn more about the cards, read the profiles of the divine masculine archetypes and more, you can do that all on my website, and the link to that is in the video description below. Some insights take time to emerge, so sit with the messages and use your discernment to determine what's for you and what to leave behind. Feel free to leave comments below. I love hearing your feedback on what parts resonated. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss your next reading. You might also consider checking out your moon, rising, and Venus signs for additional insights. Until next time, allow the moonlight to reveal your way and trust that you're on the right path. This is Artemis Oracle and Tarot. Divine what can't be seen by day, and behold, with new perspective, that which stalked in the night. See you in the next one. You've been watching Artemis Oracle and Tarot, a sacred space for healing for those on the moonlit path. Join us here on YouTube for monthly tarot readings by astrology sign and deep dives into the imagery and symbolism used in the making of our unique Artemis Oracle and Tarot decks. If having a space to work through the unpleasant but necessary parts of adulting sounds good to you, like and subscribe here on YouTube and follow us on Instagram so you never miss a beat. All links are in the description below.